Well, hi again. It's nice to be back with you. I'd like to talk to you today about the subject of worry and to give you some practical steps that you can take to move from a place of worry to a place of peace. So, if I say the words worry, stress, anxiety, or fear, I wonder what these words conjure up for you. For me, the word headache comes to mind. But let me give you a few definitions. Worry is to give way to anxiety. Anxious is troubled and uneasy in mind. Stress means pressure, tension, and strain. And fear is an unpleasant sensation caused by the nearness of danger or pain. So, do any of these words sound appealing? Do any of them sound like they should have a place in our lives? I don't think so. However, sometimes they do creep in when we let them. And there's a key phrase, when we let them. You see, worry is a state of mind caused by lack of control or indecisiveness about something impending or anticipated. It's a state of being. It's being anxious about actual or perceived or potential problems. That means things that may or may not happen. I wonder what you find yourself worrying about or being anxious about. Some examples would be maybe a job interview, an unpaid bill, maybe even a first date. But let me give you an example of things that I found myself worrying about or being anxious about. I worried about my children when they were younger. I worried about travel. What if I missed the plane? I worried about whether there might be an accident. I worried even about what people think of me. I worried about whether I might cause hurt by my words or my actions. I worried about death, not actually dying, but how others might cope when I died. So why do we worry? Why do we get anxious? When I worry or give in to anxiety, where is my focus? Does worrying or being anxious change a particular situation? Does it make things better or worse? Does it bring joy to our heart? Does it bring calm to our spirit? Does worry actually bring peace? When we worry, what are we saying? Are we saying, God, I don't trust you? Am I worrying because I'm not in control of an outcome? Worrying is not trusting. Wanting to be in control of an outcome is not trusting. Let me take my youngest son as an example. When he was very small, like a baby or a toddler, I controlled his world. I decided what he ate, where he went, how he dressed. He was my baby. I was his mum. But even as he began to grow up, I was in charge. Permission was sought and usually granted. In lots of ways, I controlled his world. I knew where he was going. I knew who he was with. I would drop him places and I would collect him at a prearranged time. But there came a point in his life when he began to make his own decisions, even sometimes wrong ones in my mind. I wasn't in control anymore. You see, that's when worry set in for me. All those what ifs. Now he was going places and doing things that were out of my supervision. Did my worrying about him change the outcome of what he may or may not do? What was I really worried about? How he'd turn out? Whether he'd go off the rails or not? Having an accident in his car? But how would my worrying change the outcome of any of that? We can apply this to any situation. Does worry, stress, or fear change any outcome? Of course it doesn't. Giving in to worry and anxiety is saying to God that we don't trust him. It's saying, God, I'm just going to worry and stress over this because I don't think you can manage the outcome to be what I want it to be. God, I want to be in control so that the result is what I want. I want everything boxed off my way, thank you very much. Am I right? In my case, I certainly was right. Do we not have a God who's big enough to trust. Of course we do. We read the words of Jesus in Matthew 6 verse 27, and it says this: "Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life?" When the disciples were out in a boat and the storm was raging, Jesus asked the question in Mark 4 verse 40, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" God knows what we need. His grace is sufficient. He is faithful to his promises. He will never leave us nor forsake us. There are many scripture verses that I can call on when I'm feeling anxious or worried. I think of Proverbs 3 verses 5 and 6 that says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your path straight." I need to constantly remind myself of God's grace. I don't deserve to have a God that loves me, cares for me, wants the best for me, and who has a plan for my future. But by his grace, I do. I have it all. It's the same for you. We have a God who is in the detail, every single detail of our lives. We have a God who loves us and wants the best for us through grace. When worry creeps in, when we need to crush it with trust, when anxiety raises its head, we need to remind ourselves that God has promised to be with us in all situations, even fire and storm. He is bigger than any situation we find ourselves in that could lead to worry and stress. Psalm 55 verse 22 encourages us to cast your cares on the Lord and he will sustain you. The word used here is to cast, to throw, or to lay our worries at the feet of a God who can do abundantly more than we can ask or imagine. Is this not better than letting worry and anxiety grip us and paralyze us? Of course it is. One of the best ways to stop worrying is to bring all our troubles to God. But there's more. We need to take action. And I want to give you some practical steps you can take to help us stop worrying. So should worry have a place in our lives? No, we need to find joy in fearing God, not pain in fearing circumstances. We have decisions to make every day. The choice is not to worry, but to pray, leave and trust. He will never leave us, and even though we may walk through a dark valley, or even in the shadow of death, we have no reason to fear or worry. He will be with us. So if you have time, stay with me for the next video, where I'll talk in more detail about the practical steps you can take to move from a place of worry to a place of peace. See you soon.